almost over. But then again, it's really just beginning.
Requests are open! If you'd like to request your own knick-knack sample platter, there are instructions in the description below. Alright, so we need to get this out right away. Look at all those chameleons! Yep, these sure are chameleons and not iguanas. Who said they were iguanas? I didn't say they were iguanas. We certainly didn't write a script about evil, bitey chameleons and then realize that chameleons are hella slow unless they feel threatened and not all that bitey and hard to work with, and so we used iguanas but kept calling them chameleons. Nope, that's not us. Nope, not at all. You can't prove anything. I plead the fifth. Look, I get it. Chameleons are associated with changing their color for camouflage. That's not really why they change their colors, it's more for maintaining body temperature and communicating their mood to other chameleons, but camouflage is the use pop culture has settled on. And this is a story about a lizard creature that imitates other people as camouflage. The association with chameleons is obvious, but you're a kid's show, and if you can't use actual chameleons, then you have to course correct in some way because kids are watching. And either they know what a chameleon is and you're just pissing them off, or they don't know what a chameleon is and you're giving them misinformation that can result in future confusion and embarrassment. Every single review on the internet about this episode has to focus on the discrepancy, including this one. You could have changed things from the tail of the chameleons to the tail of the iguanas, or the tail of the lizards, or the tail of the duplicators or something without much fuss, and you could enjoy a proper creepy story about a girl nearly getting diced to death in a garbage disposal. You did this to yourself, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Originally airing on November 18th, 1995, The Tale of the Chameleons is the 4th episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark's 5th season, the 56th episode overall. This would be the first script for Mark D. Perry, who would do 6 episodes for the show in total, and the 3rd episode directed by Ian Patterson, who also directed The Tale of the Bookish Babysitter, which we've already covered. As told by Betty Ann in what would be her final appearance on the show, this is the story of Janice, a young girl who is constantly arguing with her mother about how she won't let her express herself. Mom won't let her wear trendy clothes or dye her hair.
How many times do we have to go through this? I'm not letting you put blue streaks in your hair.
Why not? You dye your hair.
It's not the same thing, and you know it.
While stopping by a pet store to get fish food, Janice and her friend Sharon encounter a strange lizard. An unnamed brat, who's been terrorizing all the animals, prods Janice into touching the lizard, and it bites her.
Ow! That little snip bit me! Bite you once, bite you twice. A little water, pay the price.
You know, I caught this episode a lot as a kid, and I remember it confirming that this brat character was one of the transformed chameleons. My brain made up a shot where we see him with lizard eyes. And I was surprised on this rewatch that they didn't actually do that. They never confirmed what this kid's deal was. Just goes to show that you can communicate ideas without spelling them out. The chameleon hitches a ride to Janice's house, where it sneaks about, getting into groceries. Hey, whoa, there's still 3 perfectly good eggs there. What are you doing? Eventually, the chameleon fully transforms into a copy of Janice, and Janice transforms into a chameleon in kind. The fake Janice starts acting sweet and agreeable around her parents, and Sharon realizes that something is up. The main draw for the episode, of course, was casting Tia and Tamera Mowry as human Janice and chameleon Janice, respectively. Their hit sitcom, Sister Sister, was in the midst of its 3rd season when this episode first aired. They were well on the map, making this one of the more star-powery episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark, especially on the kid actor front. And they're good in this. The script asks for some campy, over-the-top moments, and the two deliver, especially Tamera, who has to rapidly alternate between overly sweet and cackling villain.
Bite you once, bite you twice. A little water, pay the price. She won't bite me again.
Oh, come on, Jen, we need your opinion.
I'll be right out, Dad.
This episode is about as subtle as a car crash and doesn't try to build suspense through obfuscation as you might expect. Usually, the tension in a body snatcher story is whether or not a person is who they say they are. My best friend is acting differently all of a sudden. First, she was worried that something was trying to get her, she had a gnarly rash, and now her personality has done a complete 180. What's going on? The Tale of the Chameleon doesn't go for this kind of thing at all. Up until the inevitable, I'm the real Janice. No, I'm the real Janice climax. We always know if we're looking at good Janice or bad Janice. There's never any question in the audience's minds. Which means we have to sit around and wait for Sharon to figure out stuff that we already know. There's just no tension in that. To create that tension, the episode would have to be from Sharon's point of view, and that would take away time from television superstars Tia and Tamera. The episode tries, and I think largely succeeds to make up for this by being over the top. Sharon could figure out that this Janice is a chameleon changeling based on the change in her personality, or you can have a scene where Janice swallows a goldfish whole. The episode's actual tension doesn't come from mystery, but rather from overt violence. After the chameleon and Janice switch places, evil Janice does everything in her power to kill her counterpart. We get scenes with scissors, butcher knives, mouse traps, unidentified spray bottles, and garbage disposals. Oh hey, that thing with the eggs was set up. You could argue it's a little cartoony, a little Tom and Jerry, but when it's an actual live-action girl trying to kill an actual live-action iguana, it comes off as much more sinister. And to top it all off, this is one of those rare but fabled Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes where a character is straight up killed, and it's the protagonist no less. Well, I mean, they're not exactly dead by the time the credits roll, but Janice is stuck in a situation she simply cannot survive. The villains win, the victim is drowned in a well, and Sharon's shirt is ruined. Sweet dreams, children. Some of the contemporary reviews of this episode comment on how Janice didn't do anything to deserve this, that she didn't have the traditional moral failing that necessitates a supernatural punishment. She didn't steal the clown's nose. That observation falls flat to me for two reasons. One, that's not strictly true. Janice was bratty and abrasive with her parents, and the chameleon got away with as much as it did because it could manipulate those dynamics. Start behaving agreeably, and the parents will be eating out of your hands. It's very much a Roald Dahl, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory kind of punishment, where being even slightly bratty results in an untimely demise. And two, I think the threat works better here because Janice isn't an over-the-top bad kid, just kind of a normal, argumentative one pushing boundaries and trying to be an adult. You knew dozens of kids like this growing up. You were almost certainly one yourself at some point. Janice is the every girl, which means when she's killed by a monster, it's not hard to imagine yourself also a victim. Hey, horror through empathy. Neat. The Tale of the Chameleon is an interesting episode in how it feels like it should go one way, but goes so hard in the opposite direction that you can't help but admire it for what it is. There's something to be said about just showing off as much violence as you can get away with for a television show made for 8-year-olds, especially in an episode featuring the stars of a pretty substantial family sitcom. Oftentimes, watching Are You Afraid of the Dark feels like you're getting away with something. I was too young to be watching Tales from the Crypt, but Are You Afraid of the Dark wasn't nearly as bad, right? It was on Nickelodeon. It was probably as harmless as those Goosebumps books. And sometimes it was that harmless. Sometimes it was some Goosebumps silly nonsense. And then sometimes a girl is killed by a terrible monster. The way in which Are You Afraid of the Dark spreads its wings with different kinds of horror is very interesting. But that's a discussion for another day. This was just a sample.